Survivors we are, survivors we are. Are you ready for the journey? Clarence Karim is the name, yes indeed. Survivors we are.
Hi, Clarence Karim here. Now, there are various moods you can be in when you're living with an illness. There's an Instagram site, so a big hello to Breaking Taboo, who I think are doing excellent work and are a real asset to everyone. Very, very much worth a look in, especially when you're doing your own self-assessment, as I believe it's extremely important. And without doing some kind of check or self-assessment check-in now and again, you can feel, for lack of a better word, overwhelmed. So exhaustion is one of the things we can get to quite easily, because we know our energy levels can drop, and we can find ourselves sort of burning the candle at both ends. So exhaustion can appear and can take us a lot longer to recover than most people. Now, when you're in the middle of a normal routine, but your illness on one end and your normal routine on the other, that illness concept starts to creep more and more towards your normal routine and can kind of consume that bit up a bit. So before you know it, your mind is more set on your illness than your normal routine. And so because now you're in a different mindset, and that mindset of you feeling you not being well and you living with that illness, it can sort of lead to a lack of motivation towards many things, because it's about keeping that kind of balance. So if you don't watch out, you can find that kind of creeping up on you. So you gotta find a way to get back on track, if that makes sense. So that self-assessment check-in, once again, recognize you're doing it, move forward with it. Or when you realize you're off balance, oh, wait a minute, this is consuming me more than my normal routine, try and find the balance. And hopefully if you do that, you can find some motivation instead of burning out. The lack of motivation can, make you less likely to want to do something. And it can lead you to turning down things that you want to do, sort of leading to a feeling of unfulfillment. These can snowball into losing focus and feel like you're on autopilot, kind of The Walking Dead, if that makes sense. Some of you might understand what I mean. Anyway, I felt a little bit like Yoda saying saying that stuff. Anyway, I spoke briefly in one of my previous episodes about relationship statuses and about how much you do and not to be turned down by what other people think of you. Anyway, especially with those kind of scenarios, you can get irritated by simple cues. Those cues of, oh, you're not pulling your weight, or your illness is an excuse, all that. And soon enough, both that irritation and impatience can rear their ugly heads. So again, doing that kind of self-assessment check-in, you could at least recognize some of the things and kind of knock them on the head, or at least, you're aware of them. The other thing I look out for is the feeling of being overwhelmed. Now that definitely resonates with me, as I constantly find it difficult to commit to anything, as I always kind of feel overwhelmed by the what if scenario, because of my health, because of my bag, because of how I might react to certain foods. So that little thing's always in the back of my head, the feeling of being overwhelmed by that particular event or something, especially if I'm being if I'm kind of turning down invitations to meet my friends or people hanging out in a group somewhere. After a while, I do feel myself, because of that feeling of being overwhelmed, I can pull myself away from those environments and find myself really being isolated for days and weeks at a time until someone can come and say, oh, have you done this? Have you done that? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? So there is a lack of motivation. There is that feeling of being overwhelmed. They all sort of entwine with one another. And, you know, you've got to be able to recognize them and say, you know, okay, so I haven't been out in 5 days. I've been tired, but I do want to do something on Saturday. Otherwise, yeah, that feeling of isolation is not a good place, because you start believing, you know, your tabloid headline, like, oh, it's okay to be at home. So running your own self-assessment of your mindset and how you are behaving can really help you feel a little bit more, you know, balanced, and can save you from exhaustion, lack of motivation, being irritable, being overwhelmed, to name a few, and under that burnout bracket, which many people consider as an excuse, but we know it's real. So good luck. Self-check-in now and again. It can help. Karim out.
Survivors we are.